Hello, this is the review video number 2 for Math 1324. So remember I told you you have a total of 10 questions. So I was able to pull a question from each section, and there are a couple of sections with 2 questions. So one of the questions that I have here that I'm looking at, you have a graph, and I want to point out that every single question that is on your test, you have worked on it on your homework. So if you have done your homework and if you have your notes, I would suggest that's the best thing that you can review if you really want to know what are the problems that I'm using on the test. So we have a graph that shows like some trend. Again, we have like the year for the independent, and then we have here certain percentage for the output. And let's say we have a line that goes like that. So then from there, you're actually going to have to find like an equation that could fit that line. So for example, it says, first of all, what was the rate for a certain year? So then, of course, you already know what to do. You find the point that corresponds to the graph, and then you match it to the value that is here on the vertical axis. So aside of that, it says something like the year 2010 is considered x equals 0. All right. So right here, you could see a value that goes with it. However, you can't really tell exactly what it is because it's not on the grid. So you're going to have to find it algebraically. So you are given 2 points, and I'm just going to use some random numbers. And let's say you're given 10, 12, something like that. So you're asked to find a line that will match that. So then the first thing you should do, or actually to find the rate. So to find the rate, you need to think about slope. So the formula for slope, which you do have to memorize, and if you memorize the meaning, it's very easy to remember how it goes. So it's the difference of the y's divided by the difference of the x's. And so in this case, if I take my 2 y values, it will be 30 minus 12, and then I will have 2 minus 10. Or I could say 12 minus 30, and then 10 minus 2. So either way would be correct. So in this case, it will be 18 divided by negative 8. And for this one, it will be negative 18 divided by positive 8. So either way is correct. So in this case, if we reduce, it will be 9 divided by negative 4, or this one will be negative 9 divided by 4. So remember, you can have the negative on the bottom or the top, but not both. So we have that as the rate, and what we do now is find the linear function. So once we have the slope, we could either use this formula, point slope, which is another one that you should remember. And from here, you could take any point you wish. So I'm going to take that one, 2, 30. And that's going to be replace my x1 and y1. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that and that with this point. And then my slope is going to come from here, the one that I found previously. So this is going to look like y minus 30 is equal to negative 9/4, and then x minus 2. And then we can simplify a little bit. I'm not really asking you to leave it in any form. So if you're not good at simplifying or you are running out of time, I would suggest that you just leave it here, and it's fine. It's still a valid answer. And that's why I prefer to do my exams on paper. And so here it will be plus 18/4. And here I could do something like negative 9/4 x plus 18/4. And then I will move this negative 30 to the right. So we'll be adding now. And now just to finish this up, I will combine like terms, which are my 2 constants. And I know this one has a denominator of 1, so to make it have a 4, I have to multiply by 4 top and bottom. So this will be 120 divided by 4. So what we could say from here is negative 9 over 4x plus 138 over 4. And then, of course, you can simplify this a little further. But if you are running out of time, don't worry about simplifying. Just get your questions done. Okay, so then if you already have an equation that goes with it, and then I ask you using that model, find what will be the rate at x equals 9. So what would you do? You would just go back and substitute x with a 9 and then find the y value. So that's the thing you should do, know how to do. Okay, another problem is with a quadratic, and I believe that will be section 3 point, what is it, 3 or 4, actually that's 3.4, I don't remember, but the one with quadratic. So please know how to find a vertex of something by using this formula, negative b over 2a parentheses f of negative b over 2a. So let's say that you get some quadratic function that, and I'm just going to make some numbers, so negative 2x squared plus 3x minus 10, okay? And so to find the x coordinate of the vertex, we need to recall that a is the leading coefficient and b is the coefficient of the x. So by using the negative b over 2a, and I'm actually giving you that formula on the test, I was feeling nice. So then negative 3 over 2 times negative 2, and this will be negative 3 over negative 4. And remember, negative over a negative is positive, so this would just be 3/4. Now remember that for every x there is a y, so if that's the x value of my vertex, then I need to find the y value. And so this will be, we will get it by substituting here into the equation. So for every x that you see here, we're going to substitute this number, the 3/4. And that's what's going to give us the y coordinate of our vertex. And so this will be that, and then we have, 3/4 square plus 3 times 3/4, and then we have a minus 10. And I'm running out of battery, so I'm going to try to do this fast. Here, when you square a fraction, you must square both numerator and denominator. Here, this will be like you're multiplying straight across, so that will be 9/4 and then minus 10. And let's say here I can cancel this 2, that will be an 8, so negative 9/8 plus 9/4 and then minus 10. So if I turn everything into eighths, it will be negative 9/8 plus 18/8. I'm multiplying by 2, top and bottom, and then here it will be negative 80/8. So then here, total, we'll have negative 89 plus 18 divided by 8. And so that is going to give me, I'm actually going to put it on my cell phone calculator because I don't want to make a mistake. So remember, signs are different. So we take the difference and we'll keep the sign of the biggest absolute value. And so I get that. And so what does that mean? That my vertex is going to have the coordinates. We got here 3/4, comma, and then we get this other number, negative 71/8. Now remember, I just wrote some random numbers. The ones on your test should work a little nicer. So we have that. Now, if the question, remember this, will this parabola be opening upward or downward? So since this number is negative and you were to graph it, you could see that it will open down. So then what happens? The vertex becomes the maximum point. So that maximum point has some significance, and that's what I'm more concerned about you finding. Now, if you had a positive leading coefficient, like let's say 2x squared plus 3x, then the parabola will be opening upward like that, and so therefore the vertex will be the minimum point. So if you're talking about price, it could be the lowest price or the lowest rate. Okay, so I'm moving on to the last page of this test, and so we have a problem about two lines crossing each other, and the two lines are representing, one is representing supply, the other one is representing demand. And so I want you to go over your notes and figure out what is the equilibrium quantity. And we did do a problem like this. I cannot recall what section it was. I'm going to just say it was probably 3.2. I'm not sure. But it was like the one about applications of linear functions, maybe 3.3. And so if you look for the equilibrium point, that's what it's called. And so the equilibrium point, of course, is a point. It has x and y coordinates. The first one, it tells you the equilibrium quantity, and the other one tells you the equilibrium, I can't spell, price. And so once you do that, that point is actually going to be the one intersecting, where the two lines intersect each other. So I know we did a problem like that in class. You should have it in your notes. Also, there was one like that on your homework, and that's where I got it from. Okay, so the last one from section 3.5, I have 4 graphs, and you have to match them with the equation. And so you have to remember certain things. Even polynomials, they're either open, if the leading coefficient is positive, greater than 0, they're going to open upward, like a parabola. Now, if the leading coefficient is negative, then the even polynomials are going to open downward. Now, let's move on to odd polynomials. So those are the ones with degrees that are 1, 3, 5, and so on, right? So for those, and the smallest degree that we can have is a linear function, degree 1. So remember that a linear function with a positive slope will be going like this. And a line with a negative slope, if the leading coefficient is less than 0, it will be going like that. And so that's what matches the behavior of the graph. Even polynomials have same end behavior. Odd polynomials have opposite end behavior. And so you need to be able to know which is which. Also, study about turning points. So there's a thing that says, one of your slides that says that if some polynomial is of degree n, then the maximum number of turning points that this could have is going to be n minus 1. So example, if we have a degree of 7, then the maximum number of turning points will be 6. And this concludes the review video. So I hope you watch both, because if you do, this test is going to be a lot easier than if you don't.